The wedding planner asked me which brother's name to put on the invitations, and I realized I couldn't answer. 3 weeks ago, I knew exactly who I was marrying. The same man I've been lying to for 6 months. Now I'm standing in a penthouse that isn't mine, wearing an engagement ring that costs more than my mother's life. And the man who recorded my confession in that elevator is asking me to stay for breakfast. My phone won't stop buzzing with texts from his brother, the one I was supposed to marry, the one who, apparently, planned my betrayal from the beginning. If you've ever had to choose between survival and truth, between love and debt, stay until the end. Because what happens next will change everything. Natalie Ross had become an expert at pretending. For 6 months, she'd smiled across dinner tables at Cameron Blake, a venture capitalist with more money than empathy, and an ego the size of his portfolio. She'd learned his favorite wine, laughed at his mediocre jokes, and molded herself into exactly the kind of woman he wanted. Elegant, agreeable, just vulnerable enough to make him feel powerful. It wasn't love. It was a transaction. Her mother had late-stage lymphoma, and the experimental treatments that might save her cost more than Natalie could earn in 3 lifetimes. Cameron was her solution, wrapped in designer suits and empty promises. The engagement ring felt like a trap disguised as salvation. Everything changed on a Wednesday afternoon in Chicago. Natalie had arrived early at Cameron's office tower to meet with his family's event coordinator. The elevator was empty when she stepped inside, pressing the button for the 52nd floor. She exhaled slowly, allowing herself one moment of honest exhaustion before the performance resumed. Then the elevator stopped. The lights died. Emergency backup kicked in dim amber, barely enough to see. Natalie's chest tightened. She hated enclosed spaces, hated feeling trapped. She fumbled for the emergency button, but nothing happened. The power outage must have been building-wide. Well, this is inconvenient. Natalie's heart lurched. A man sat in the corner, barely visible in the weak lighting. Tall, dark-haired, expensive suit. He'd been so still she'd completely missed him. "Sorry," he said, and there was something almost amused in his voice. "Got in at the lobby. You seemed preoccupied. How long have you been there?" "Since the beginning." He shifted and the emergency light caught his face. Sharp features, intelligent eyes, the kind of presence that commanded rooms. "I'm Julian. Julian Blake." The world tilted. Blake. Cameron's last name. "You're his brother," Natalie whispered. "Guilty. And you're Natalie." The mysterious fiancé Cameron refuses to talk about, which is unusual for him. He usually can't stop bragging about his acquisitions. The word choice wasn't accidental. Natalie felt it like a slap. Silence stretched between them. The walls seemed closer. Her breathing quickened. The familiar panic of enclosed spaces crept up her spine. "How long do you think we'll be stuck?" she managed. Julian checked his phone. No signal. Could be hours. These things take time. The darkness pressed in. The lies pressed harder. 6 months of careful deception suddenly felt unbearable, choking her. In this trapped space suspended between floors, between moments, something inside Natalie cracked. "I don't love your brother." The confession erupted before she could stop it. Natalie's hand flew to her mouth, horrified. Julian said nothing, just listened, and somehow that silence was permission. In the anonymous darkness, Natalie told him everything. About her mother's diagnosis, the crushing medical debt, meeting Cameron at a charity auction and recognizing an opportunity. She told him about the performance, the calculated cultivation of affection she didn't feel. She told him about the guilt that devoured her at night. "I'm marrying him for his money," she said finally. "My mother is dying, and Cameron is my only way to save her. I know what that makes me, but I can't lose her. She's all I have." The silence that followed felt eternal. Then Julian spoke, his voice different, colder. "That's quite an admission." Something in his tone made Natalie look up. Julian raised his phone. The screen glowed. "Recording." "What are you doing?" "Documenting," Julian said simply. "You just confessed to defrauding my brother. That seems worth preserving." Horror flooded through her. "You recorded that?" "Every word." The emergency system suddenly surged. The elevator shuddered, began climbing. Normal power returning. The overhead lights blazed on, harsh and unforgiving. Natalie saw Julian Blake clearly for the first time. He was striking, not handsome in Cameron's conventional way, but magnetic. Dark eyes that seemed to see through everything. The kind of man who built empires and destroyed them before breakfast. "Don't worry," Julian said as the elevator climbed. "I'm not showing this to Cameron." "Then why?" "Because I'm going to make you an offer." The doors opened onto a glass-walled executive floor. Julian stepped out, turned back. "Come with me. We need to talk." Natalie should have run. Instead, she followed him into an office that overlooked all of Chicago, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city like a kingdom. Julian closed the door. Locked it. "My brother is a sadist," he said bluntly. "He collects people, breaks them, tests them until they shatter. I've watched him destroy lives for sport. Why are you telling me this?" Julian pulled out a folder thick with legal documents. "Because that recording gives you zero leverage if you try to leave. Cameron will destroy you and your mother both. I've seen him do it." He slid the folder across his desk. "Or you could marry me instead." Natalie stared at him. "You're insane." "I'm practical. Your mother needs $2 million in ongoing care. Cameron's promised you access to his money, but you'd have to endure years of his games. I'll pay the full amount immediately. $2 million in a medical trust your mother controls. Guaranteed care for life. In exchange you marry me. Contract marriage. 1 year. After that we divorce. You walk away free and your mother is safe." Natalie opened the folder with trembling hands. The contracts were real. Professional. The numbers staggering. "Why would you do this?" Julian's expression was unreadable. "Let's say my brother and I have unfinished business. And you're the perfect catalyst. This is insane. This is survival." Julian walked to the window. "Cameron wants to own you. I'm offering you a business deal. 1 year. No emotional manipulation. Full security for your mother. Then freedom. Isn't that better than a lifetime of pretending?" It was crazy. Impossible. And yet, "I need time. You have until tomorrow. Say yes, we move immediately. Say no, I delete the recording and you marry Cameron as planned. Either way, your secret stays safe." Natalie left in a daze. That night, sitting beside her mother's hospital bed, watching the machines that kept her alive, she made her choice. The next morning she called Julian. "I'll do it." "Good. We move fast. Cameron's wedding is in 3 weeks. We'll use the same date. Same venue. Different groom. He'll lose his mind. Let him. Pack your things. Starting today you live with me. We need to make this convincing." Julian's penthouse was a temple of steel and glass, suspended above the city like a dare. Natalie had her own suite, her own space, but Julian insisted on breakfast together. Building rapport, he called it. The money transferred within 48 hours. $2 million. Her mother's salvation. Cameron predictably exploded. Lawyers. Threats. Phone calls that Natalie finally blocked. Julian handled it all with surgical precision. What Natalie didn't know, what she discovered 2 weeks later, was the truth. She found the photographs in Julian's study, dozens of them, of her. At the charity auction where she'd met Cameron. At coffee shops. At her mother's hospital. Following her for months. "You've been stalking me." Julian looked up from his laptop completely calm. Observing. "Why?" Julian closed his laptop. Stood. Crossed to her. "Because from the moment Cameron introduced us, I couldn't stop thinking about you. I knew what he was doing. Another woman to manipulate. I wanted to warn you. But then I realized I wanted you for myself. Not as a possession. As a partner. You used me. I gave you an option that didn't involve lying to my brother forever." Julian's eyes held hers. "Are you worse off than you would have been?" Natalie couldn't answer. Because living with Julian had been unexpected. He was brilliant, wickedly funny, surprisingly kind. And she felt something when she looked at him. Something she'd never felt with Cameron. Something real. Before she could respond, her phone rang. "Cameron." From a new number. "Answer it," Julian said. She did. "Natalie. Meet me tomorrow. Noon. The restaurant where I proposed. Please. I just want to understand." She looked at Julian. He nodded. "Fine. Noon. It's a trap, Julian said immediately. I know. I'm coming with you. The restaurant was elegant, expensive. Cameron was already seated, smiling when she arrived. It wasn't a kind smile. You look well. How's the contract marriage? Natalie sat. What do you want? Cameron pulled out his phone. Showed her a video. The elevator. Her confession. Every damning word. Security cameras, Cameron said pleasantly. They record audio. Interesting viewing. Natalie's blood froze. Here's what happens next. You leave Julian. Come back to me. Marry me as planned. Or I release this to every media outlet in the country. Investigate your mother's medical trust for fraud. And sue you into oblivion. Your mother dies. You lose everything. Julian appeared at Natalie's side. That's a compelling story, Cameron. Except you orchestrated the whole thing. Cameron's smile faltered. Julian played an audio recording. Cameron's voice talking to someone else. Power outage will trap them together. Julian can't resist playing hero. Then I'll use the security footage to bring her back. She'll be grateful. Compliant. Perfect. The color drained from Cameron's face. You tested her, Julian said quietly. You set up the power outage. Made sure I'd be in that elevator. You wanted to see if she'd break. This was all a game. Natalie looked between the brothers, understanding dawning like ice water. You knew. Not immediately, Julian admitted. But the pieces didn't add up. The power outage was too convenient. So I investigated. Found the contractor Cameron paid. Found everything. Julian turned to his brother. You lose, Cameron. Natalie isn't a game piece. She's a person. And she deserves better than both of us. But at least I'm honest about what I want. Cameron stood abruptly. This isn't over. Yes, Julian said. It is. After Cameron left, Natalie sat in stunned silence. He tested me. It was all a test. Yes. And you knew. Eventually. Natalie looked up at Julian. So what now? We're still bound by contract. 1 year, then I'm free. Right. Julian sat across from her. Here's what I think. You've been manipulated enough. So I'm voiding the contract. The money stays in your mother's trust. That's permanent. But you're free to go. No obligations. Walk away whenever you want. And if I don't want to walk away? Julian's eyes met hers. Then we start over. No contracts. No recordings. No games. Just two people trying to build something real. Natalie thought about the last 6 months of lies. Then about the last 3 weeks with Julian. The conversations. The laughter. The way he looked at her like she mattered. I choose you, Natalie said. Not because of contracts or debt. I choose you because when I'm with you I don't have to pretend. Because you gave me options when everyone else tried to take them. Because I think I'm falling in love with you. And that's terrifying, but not as terrifying as walking away. Julian stood. Knelt beside her chair. I love you. No conditions. No expiration date. Just love. When they kissed it tasted like freedom. 6 months later, Natalie stood in a different venue, wearing a dress she'd chosen herself, looking at Julian. Her mother sat in the front row, healthy enough to be there, crying happy tears. The wedding planner, the same one who'd asked about the invitations, smiled knowingly. I do, Julian said. I do, Natalie echoed. And when they kissed, it was the first honest thing she'd done in over a year. Sometimes the wrong elevator takes you exactly where you need to go. Sometimes love finds you in the darkness. Sometimes the right choice is the one you never saw coming. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe for more tales of love, secrets, and second chances. Drop a comment. Would you have taken Julian's deal or married Cameron? We read every single one. Share this with someone who believes in love stories that start with betrayal and end with truth. New stories drop every week. See you in the next one.